Forever Dog.
Welcome to Forever Dog. You can listen to this podcast ad-free on Forever Dog Plus by signing up at foreverdogpodcasts.com/plus. And make sure to follow us on social at Forever Dog Team and check out all of our podcasts at foreverdogpodcasts.com. Thank you for your support and enjoy the show.
Hey, car shoppers! Car Gurus here with your word of the day. Strict. It's not a crowd favorite, but wouldn't it be nice if there was a car shopping site so strict it only said cars were great deals if they were actually great deals based on details like mileage and accident history? There is! Visit CarGurus.com and find a deal that's 100% certifiably great. Seriously. Don't make us say it twice.
Quick note to listeners, due to a scheduling snafu, this interview starts off with both me and Gabby, and then Gabby disappears.
And then I go conduct another interview by myself until Allison shows up at the end. So these next 2 weeks, what a ride we're on.
What a ride. But you know what? We made it work, and we got the content, and here's your content, people. Here's your what does Bo Burnham say? I made you your content.
Just between us. Hey. Just between us. Hey.
Hello, I'm Allison Raskin. I'm a writer, mental health advocate, and officially on summer vacation from grad school.
Hi, I'm Gabby Dunn. I'm a writer, bicon, bisexual icon, wink, and mediocre at TikTok.
Tell me more.
No. That's it. I don't know what it's supposed to be for anymore, so I'm over it. But what you're done with grad school for the summer?
I get August off, which is very thrilling for me.
What are you going to do?
I'm going to New York for a week, and mostly I'm just not going to have to sit on Zoom for hours every few days.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the Delta variant's screwing everything up, but was there a time where you were going to have to go back to grad school in person?
Yeah, the plan is to go back for the next quarter, both for Pepperdine, where I go as a student, and for USC, where I go as a teacher. So as of right now, both campuses are planning on doing in person in September, so we shall see.
Well, good luck to you.
Have a good one. See you later.
Hope that works out for you. Do you think that you would be a better teacher in person?
I would hope so.
Because it's hard over Zoom, right?
Yeah, it's really hard. Well, I've been on break from teaching for a while now because USC has like a true 3-month summer versus Pepperdine where it's like one month. But yeah, I mean, I would hope. I mean, also just like as a student, it's like nobody in my classes talk. So the professor will just be like, ask a question and no one will reply. And then it's like, I could reply, but I'm like, I don't want to be the person answering every question.
So that nobody says anything?
A lot of the time that happens, yeah. It's really uncomfortable.
And can she call on someone?
He doesn't do that, no. I mean, I was in person for such little time. I was only in person for maybe like 2.5 months.
Right.
And so I'm hoping that like it'll be a little more dynamic when we go back in person. But even like in person, I mean, people just don't talk. And it's like it really like makes the class like worse.
Because do you think people are just scared to say the wrong thing?
Yeah, or they don't know what to. I mean, sometimes he'll ask a question. I'll be like, I have no idea. But other times I'll be like, oh, I have something to say, but I've already said too much in this class.
Well, I think like in high school, it feels like, okay, like I'll speak up in the class or whatever. But maybe in like grad school, people just don't know if they should, or like we've got some sort of like new adult social anxiety that like we didn't have in high school.
I don't know. I mean, when I was teaching too, it was like we would ask things and no one would reply. So it's really
I'm
awkward.
just imagining this. It's so awkward.
It's so awkward. But the thing about the Zoom situation is like, you know, it's in a way less awkward because it's like everyone's in their own room. So like maybe people don't feel the pressure as much to be the one to talk. Yeah. So I'm hoping like in person we'll all like make eye contact and be like, hey, maybe you could say something.
It's Wow. Well, this is Just Between Us, a variety show filled with heartfelt advice
Ridiculous games.
and brutal, brutal honesty. Oh, no.
I know. It's rough. Also, just like, I'm really worried about the type of people that seem to want to be therapists. But that's a whole nother topic for another day.
You're like seeing them as their real selves, and you're like, I can't believe this person is going to be someone's therapist.
I have some concerns about worldviews.
Oh, no.
I have some concerns about worldviews. I have some concerns about vibes.
Well, okay. Well, because you think that they would not be a very good therapist.
I mean, look, in terms of like personality, like who am I to say? But I think in terms of like worldviews, like therapy is social justice. And if you don't have, you know, like progressive leanings and a progressive view of the world, like this isn't really the right. This, like, if you don't think that people are oppressed, you shouldn't be a therapist.
Yeah.
Like,
Wow.
you know, like there's some stuff where I'm like, you know, like, oh, you're not a feminist? Oh, okay. Please don't be a therapist.
Or be a therapist for a very specific subset of person, I guess.
Well, no, because then you would never be able to acknowledge that sexism exists in a way. Do you know? Like you have like so much of it is like also doing social justice stuff. And like if you don't even like believe in social justice, that's like a very weird way to be entering the therapeutic helping field.
I want a shirt that says I'm concerned about vibes. Just a mug that's like I have some concerns about vibes. I'm concerned about ... vibes.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's very uplifting. This week we're going to be asking Olayami Olorin some tough questions about being a public defender.
And later we'll be discussing Bennifer and the obsession with celebrity relationships. But before we can get to all of that, it's time to answer a listener's question. Hit it! International question! International question! International question! Alma, Austria.
She, her. And I love that name. Alma's such a cute name.
It really is. And I've been to Austria, so pretty cool. Oh no, I'm in a silly mood. All right. TLDR. How do you maintain a good relationship with your own creative process in the age of Instagram and the pressure to go viral?
Oh no.
I wish I knew.
Here we go.
Dear Allison and Gabby, I've always wondered which question I'll ask you. Now the day has come.
Wow.
I'm a 22-year-old student, almost finished with my bachelor in theories of film, theater, and media. I've always dreamt of becoming an artist, directing, making music, designing fashion, writing a book, and jumped from one creative passion to another, and always have 1,000 ideas at once.
Cool.
It is difficult for me to stay consistent and focus on only one project. I suffer from self-doubt and enormous pressure to be successful, a wish to become famous, and I guess be special, and therapy to work on this.
Sure.
Apart from that, it just seems like a wonderful way to spend your life, creating and working with other creative minds. These days, I find myself scrolling through Instagram and watching other people's art, which pressures me as I feel I am nowhere with my career. Right now, I'm really confused how to go forward. A part of me wants to conquer Instagram, learn about the algorithm and get a following, to have something to be proud of, find a community. But then I get disappointed easily about only having 60 followers and expect to grow overnight and have the urge to just quit. I wonder if I should just take myself out of this race, as I am not enjoying it most of the time. Also, the goal shouldn't be to make art for Instagram, YouTube, but what do you do with the wish to be seen? So I wonder, how do you maintain a good relationship with your own creative process in the age of Instagram pressure to go viral? Do I even need to be on there? I'm a big all or nothing person. The thought to quit art and do something else, studying psychology, and the sudden urge to create, go to art school, are ripping me apart. It would be really nice to make a decision or to have another outlook because this is exhausting. But also, quitting would be like giving up before even starting. How do you know when to push through all this self-doubt and pursue the dream to be an artist? And when does it become toxic and would be better to change career plans and see it as a hobby? I would love to hear your thoughts on this as I don't have people in my life who can relate or are in an artistic field. A big thank you for your consistent vulnerability, brutal honesty, and thoughtful advice. I have so much respect and love for you and wish you all the best. Have you been like listening in on my therapy sessions?
Okay, so here's the thing. Social media is bad.
I don't agree with you on that, but that's something we disagree about. But okay.
Going viral is a double-edged sword because going viral is not something that you can control. So like if you go viral for something good, it's all I've seen that happen maybe 3 times. But if you go viral for something bad and everybody is like dunking on you and like knows who you are for a bad reason, like that happen. I see that happen like way more. And I think the idea of going viral is seen as positive in a way that it no longer is. It's hard because you're right about not creating for Instagram or for YouTube specifically, right? Like I think it's all gotten so warped and like if it doesn't make you feel good, don't do it. Like I went off Twitter and I have been considering like being on Instagram as much because I realized that once I left Twitter, I had so much more time to actually write. I had so much more time to actually do my work. Like I feel like doing the art is its own thing and then going on Instagram to promote the art or to put up stuff from the art is secondary. Like you have to be doing the stuff in order to then promote it on Instagram and not the other way around. I feel like starting from the place of Instagram is like the wrong move because I wasn't making anything worth posting about when I was just worried about posting.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of like my creative process, like I picked this question because this is something I have been grappling with a lot where I feel like I am out of content that I feel like, I'm very aware that I came up on the internet. The reason that I've had the career success that I've had is because of a large part because I was able to build a following online. And I think that there is a lot of power in that, having gone to like to film school and tried to go the traditional route as being a screenwriter and that like nothing happening for me until I had a YouTube channel, like I think that it makes a lot of sense that you do put time and thought into the social media of it all. But for me, I'm like reaching this point where like, I see people being so creative all of the time, especially on TikTok, and see people's tweets do so well all of the time. And I'm constantly like, I don't have anything left to say.
That's the problem. If you get off of that stuff, if you stop like comparing or going, into that stuff.
But there's also the reality of the fact that like I have a book coming out next year and I have to maintain my fan base. I have to maintain my visibility so that stuff does do well. But
you have to work backwards from that. You have to have like the book and then you have to like work backwards from the book to promote the book. Like you going on TikTok or going on Twitter and saying, oh, well, compared to these people, I don't have any ideas left is bullshit. You absolutely have ideas left. Like you're just like going on these things and thinking, oh, well, that person did it better, so why bother? Or that person like
that's just I think you're putting words in my mouth.
But you do have ideas.
Not really though. Like I'm trying to do more TikToks and I don't have ideas. Like I think about this like all day, every day. Like this has been a thing that I've been dealing with where like I just don't have, like we used to make a sketch a week and like we used to put up 2 videos a week. And like I am in this place where I feel really drained, and like I feel like I don't have ideas, and I don't have ideas for TikTok videos, and it is like distressing to me, and like that's my truth.
But then why do it? Why not just get rid of all of that stuff for now and like sit down and focus on like doing something that is real?
Because that's also my business. So I can't just abandon the social element. Like I don't have as many projects going on as you do right now. Like I don't have my next thing. And so I have to maintain this fan base in order for me to continue my career. And I think when you treat me like that, that's not true and that's not a reality of life, like that, I feel very unheard and I feel like it's hard for me to talk to you.
But I've only lost things from like it's Twitter specifically. I've lost things from Twitter. Like the last few times that like something went viral of mine on Twitter, I lost money. I lost projects. So like me sitting down and then not being on Twitter, I sat down and wrote a whole screenplay from not being on Twitter, not caring what's going on Twitter, not like, and so to me, it's the opposite where it's like, well, now I have this screenplay. And like, that's a real thing that like, I feel like if you think you don't have ideas, you do. You always say this thing about how you don't have ideas, and like you are definitely a creative person. Like you have tons of things to mine. You have tons of ideas.
But like I view online content as content, and so I need ideas for videos, and I don't have them. Like when I tell you that, and then you say that's not true, like you're just not listening to me. Like the reality is that like every single day I try to think of an idea for a TikTok video, and I can't. So like that is my reality.
But I see you as a very creative person with a lot of unique stuff to mine. But you always say stuff like I'm boring, and like I just don't think that's true.
I don't think that I'm boring, but I think that I've already mined a lot of things. I've already written a lot of things in my life. I've already, and like I have a weekly blog for my Patreon. Like it is hard for me to think of a topic every fucking week to talk about on my blog. Like I have to post 5 days a week on Emotional Support Lady. It is hard for me to think of content to put on that, like I do feel depleted. I do feel like I don't have much more to say or add to the conversation, and that's been a personal issue and battle that I've been dealing with.
I am sorry about that. I just see you as creative and interesting, and like the idea that you're like, well, I've mined my whole life doesn't like compute for me, because you are so strange and interesting. And like this has been a thing since like the beginning, where you're just are like you're not aware of what about you is interesting, and then you think nothing about you is interesting, like that's
not what I'm saying. I think you're taking what I'm saying and like blowing it out into like a level of like self-hatred and like self-judgment. I don't think that me as a person is like, I just am saying creatively in terms of making content on a daily and weekly basis. I am struggling with that.
Yeah. I mean, I hear you.
And so, like I had started trying to get more into TikTok to be like, oh, I can do comedy videos on here, and maybe it won't be as like mental health focused. It'll just be more fun, like when I used to just like make sketches and stuff. And like, I don't have any ideas for it, and it's hard. And so, and with like Twitter, it's like I used to try to tweet once a day, and it was like very disciplined, and now I'm trying to be like, maybe I wait more until a tweet comes to me. But then there's like a lot of times where nothing comes to me for a significant amount of time, and then I'm like, well, do I force myself to make something, or do I just wait? And so I am in a time of like renegotiating my creative process with myself, because I think it used to be very disciplined and like a large outpouring of content because I was on this strict schedule, and that's still true for everything Emotional Support Lady. But like for my other accounts, like try to just like let myself feel like, well, trusting that like if I don't have an idea today, maybe I will have one next week. But like putting that trust in myself is really fucking hard, and like some days it goes a lot easier than other days. Especially because you see all these people making stuff and they're so creative and they're so good at it.
But this is what I'm worried about, is that how much of your like energy and depletion and like fear and whatever is based on watching what these other people are doing, or seeing other people's tweets go viral. Like once I stopped seeing what other people were doing and like muted kind of everybody on Instagram who I compare myself to, my actual work started being completed. Like I think you being like, oh, these people are so creative, like they are, but this is what this girl is talking about is like she has all of this art and stuff that she wants to do, but like 90% of this email was like, I look at Instagram. I just think that is like clearly you're upset right now, and like I feel like it indicates that this stuff is like toxic.
I don't think that my consumption of it is toxic. I just like, you know, I think we've always had very different relationships to social media. I enjoy watching TikTok as a consumer. Mm-hmm. It brings me joy. And you know, I think it's just this thing of like having to remind myself that I'm just not having the same output that I used to have, and that I just like, and that's okay. And that like when I do have a longer project, like I am able to complete it. The issue is never like completing work that I have. It's if I have the work, if I have the project, I can complete it. Yeah. It's more just even thinking of ideas for things I'm finding to be a bit tricky lately.
But I'm saying where I put the ideas, right? So like if I have an idea and I am like, ooh, that would be a really good tweet. Because I don't have Twitter, I go, what about that idea was good? Could it be a show? Could it be something where I like, you know, like I think I was giving stuff away for free on Twitter and then feeling pressured to keep building on that kind of thing. Or like, I don't know. And I thought I just kept going in my mind over and over again. Like I'm giving these apps things for free. And then it makes you feel like you're running out of ideas because you have to keep feeding this like free machine. When like, if you just stop and go like, in the beginning of my career, if I had an idea, I would be like, okay, that's a really good idea for an essay. How do I make that into an essay? But then it got to a period of like the time on Twitter where I would just be like, I would just have the idea and then tweet it out and like for free. And like, instead of taking the time and going, okay, well, this thought was interesting. Like what about that would resonate to humanity? The times where I've been viral have not been good. I had a 2-book deal with a publishing company, and I had a tweet go viral that was like just misunderstood. That now people say the exact same thing and it's completely like nobody cares. But it just so happened that day was like the day that like the discourse decided to be viral about this one particular thing, which happens all the time. Like someone tweeted the other day, like, why don't cis men have bed frames? Which is a thing that I have seen tweeted 4,000 times by different women. And that day, it just so happened that someone saw it and picked it up and was like, this is whatever they said about it. So like, and then it became discourse. It's like the opposite of luck of the draw. So that day, I just so happened to be the person they chose to be the main character of Twitter. Because of that, the publisher reneged on the deal, and I lost both of the books in the period of 24 hours because of a tweet. So to me, it's not helping like to look at that stuff or to see everybody succeeding or to see like, I feel like I felt this deeply, like that it just became like a waste of time, a liability, and like it makes you think that you're out of ideas when you're actually not out of ideas. You just are sucked into this thing that goes so fast.
I mean, I definitely agree with the liability part, and that has added to my anxiety a lot. And I think that is a large part of why, you know, because a lot of ideas I have, I go, oh, this could be misinterpreted incorrectly.
That's the problem. That's the thing. And you know what? Like when you tweet that can be misinterpreted and go whatever viral and blah, 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 and you are canceled. Okay, fine. But then if you write it into a book, if you write it into a screenplay, if you write it into an essay that contains nuance, then you get the benefit of being like, I said what I said in my art. Like, this is my art, and I said what I said in my art.
And I think that that's a great approach when it is your hobby and when it is your, you know, like you have other ways of getting money, but like you're acting as though like by writing that screenplay that ensures that I sell that screenplay, and that's not true.
But it creates of course not, but it creates
like I haven't been able to sell anything in a long time, and so like in over a year. And like, that's scary. And so part of what I have to do to make myself more marketable to sell these bigger projects is I have to maintain this fan base online.
Yeah, I understand.
What I've done in the past is no longer building on itself. I've hit this thing where it's scary and like I need to support myself. And so
Yeah.
if I was like Reese Witherspoon, I wouldn't be on social media. Like
Yeah.
if I hit a level where I knew that I was financially stable as a creative in this industry, I would delete my accounts. Absolutely. In a lot of ways, but I'm not there yet. And so it is a part of my business, and that's what's tricky. Like my goal is to get to a place where I don't need to post, or when I post it's literally just sugar being silly and it doesn't matter who looks at it because I have an overall deal with Amazon or what, like, but I'm not in that place. And me just working on these bigger projects by myself, like there's no guarantee that those are going to sell.
You and I have very different creative processes, very different ways
But we
of
also
viewing.
have different careers. You have to understand that.
Okay. We just have always had different opinions on like the creative process and the process of in what order things should. We just have very different opinions on art. I've lost things mostly from social media, maybe in a way that you've gained. I don't know. But I wonder how much art is not getting made because people are worried about Instagram or if it's viral worthy, or they're opposite, worried about if it does go viral in the wrong way. How much art is not being made because of that.
Right. And I mean, back to the question, like, I think it's really helpful for people to be creative on the side, and to pick for it to be your main career is a lot. And it is scary, and it is not a meritocracy, and there's so much luck involved. And even if you are the best at what you do, that does not mean that you will be able to support yourself doing it. Mm-hmm. And so I think that there's like a lot to be said for figuring out a way to have a job career that you like, and then continuing to do art and creativity on the side.
Mm-hmm. Yes. But I just worry about, like, 90% of this email was about Instagram, and we didn't learn anything about her art.
Sure, but I guess for me, it's never been like it's either social media or my projects. Like I've always been able to do both. I just feel like I struggle more with creating the content for the social media. Like I could sit down and write a script tomorrow. It's more just like, I don't see them, I guess, as mutually exclusive as you do. We have no idea if that was helpful for you at all, but it was helpful for us to process things out loud.
Yeah, please go tell Allison that she's a wonderful creative person who has tons of ideas. Okay.
If you want to submit your international question, you can send it to justbetweenuspod@gmail.com. That's justbetweenuspod@gmail.com.
Up next, we have Tough Questions with Olayami Olorin, so stick around, like this wasn't tough enough.
Just Between Us is brought to you by Showtime and the L Word Generation Q.
Who doesn't love friends becoming lovers and exes becoming friends and friends' exes becoming lovers?
Well, I guess that depends on how messy you like it.
This season, the L Word is serving up new drama with humor, heart, and a little heartbreak.
Honestly, hot sex, cold shoulders, warm hugs, sign me up.
Find your people and jump in. The L Word Generation Q is now streaming only on Showtime. And let me tell you, last season left us with a cliffhanger. Who will Sophie choose? Who will Sophie choose? We have to find out.
There's lots of hot drama, so grab a friend and turn it into an event.
Ugh, I need an eco-friendly period product. I need one that I look and I see that I'm wasting plastic and I'm wasting resources, and it makes me really, really sad and uncomfortable. But if you want a period product that looks out for your body, your lifestyle, and the planet, you've got to try Flex.
Flex is innovating period care with products that are body safe, made for comfort, and made to keep you moving.
There's the Flex Disc, which is a one-time use menstrual disc that fits perfectly inside your body.
One Flex disc can be worn up to 12 hours and holds as much flow as 3 super tampons.
It's not a cup and better than a tampon. It's unlike any other period product you've seen before. It's literally like a disc with a black rim, and you put it up inside you, and it collects the menses rather than absorbs it. And it just felt super easy to put in and clean. Plus, you can wear it for mess-free period sex. Your white sheets will thank you. That's on you if you care about the mess. Oftentimes, you could throw down a towel, but you can also put this in, and you can have period sex penetratively without making a huge mess. So I like it because it makes me feel like I'm not wasting plastic. I'm not, throwing as much away. For instance, Flex discs create 60% less waste compared to pads and tampons. So yeah, you can consider using Flex, your environmental good deed.
And if you want to go zero waste and have the planet love you even more, pick up the Flex Cup, a reusable menstrual cup that Cosmo rated #1.
The patented pull tab makes Flex the only cup on the market that removes like a tampon. It's so easy, you already know how to use it.
It's disability friendly and made with beginners in mind.
It's velvety soft and completely body safe and lasts for years.
With helpful videos, in-depth diagrams, GIFs, and Flexperts available to walk you through the entire process, you'll never go back to products from the past once you try Flex.
Say goodbye to cramps, put mess-free period sex back on the table, and lend Mother Nature a hand. Go to flexfits.com/justbetweenus and use code justbetweenus for 20% off Flex Disc starter kits or 10% off your first Flex cup, plus free US shipping.
That's code justbetweenus at flex, F-L-E-X, fits.com/justbetweenus.
Just between us.
Welcome back to Just Between Us. It's time for the juiciest, most scandalous, controversial segment known to all of podcasting. Tough questions.
This week on the show, we have Olayemi Olorin, who is a public defender and Allison's favorite Twitter follow, and a legal commentator and a legal observer and a writer and just all around cool person. Hello.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for having me.
I want to get into the public defending of it all and the court system. And I was listening to an interview you did, and just starting off of, like, you were saying, people think that the justice system isn't working, but it is actually working the way it was intended.
Yeah.
Can you sort of elaborate a bit on that?
I think it's two things. I think people tend to think of the criminal system as having mistakes, and those mistakes are things that are these insidious things that happen in the dark, like something you got to parse out. But in actuality, if you step into a court, all of the racism and discrimination and all of the injustice that you see people writing about that come off like these horrendous anomaly stories, it's just a daily practice of being in court. It's not something you have to look for. It's very clear. Like, you could see it in the way the court officers talk to your Black clients, the way the court officers talk to you as a Black lawyer, they mistake for a client, it's very, very clear. So that's what I mean. People tend to think of the criminal system. They call it, in and of itself, they call it the criminal justice system. Like, the implication there is that it's this wheel of justice. That's what it's there to do, and to right wrongs. So when you hear about it doing unjust things, you think it's a mistake. That's literally why it's named that. It's a very deliberate misnomer. It's so that people automatically buy into it. So in and of itself, it's just plain as day once you see it in action.
What is it like to be a public defender? Because I know that you guys get so many cases. You're so overworked. Like, is that part of how it's rigged against people, and that they're not getting the same representation that they should?
Absolutely. I think obviously it's meant to put your clients and that entire part of the system at a disadvantage. There's really no other way to put it. There's no other reason why we make less than prosecutors. We're funded less. We are in these different positions. So for sure, without fail, I'm fortunate. I work at the Legal Aid Society, and that's one of the more probably best funded, of public defense organizations. So, but yes, it definitely creates strain. But I think in any legal work and in anything that you're doing, depending on what your life and your circumstances are, you can make things work. For me, I'm a single 20-something-year-old person. I've got no children. So I can do this. I have the time. I can do it.
I feel like I hear all the time, though, that a lot of times people who've been convicted are just told to take plea deals, whether or not they even did the crime.
So, okay, we're going to have this conversation. All right, let's I think a lot of blame, a lot of what is wrong with the criminal system is intentionally placed on the backs of defense attorneys and public defenders who have nothing to do with it. The reason why pleas, you're in a position why you have to take a plea or why a plea is something that a public defender or the lawyer is conveying to you. We didn't make the plea. The plea is the prosecution, and it's the prosecutors and the judges and the legislators that have set it up where you're in the worst position possible. You know, it's like if the plea offer, if I could get you an offer of 3 years, but otherwise you go to jail and you're risking 15 to 25. You know what I mean? And I recognize that as unfair as it is, I can think all I want in my soul that this is wrong. Like, this is wrong. This should not be happening, right? You shouldn't be being charged for this. This kind of behavior shouldn't be criminalized. We shouldn't respond to this with, incarceration, but we do. That is exactly how the system responds. I could feel that way all I want. If I know that this judge is going to convict you, I know what they have, this is the next thing. It's my job and also my literal obligation to convey what the plea offer is. So I think, and I get it. And this is the thing. Clients, they deal with you. They're interacting with you. They don't have the opportunity to take out their frustrations on the prosecution or the judge. And also they don't have that understanding of the system. They don't really, you know what I mean? It's not, they don't have the burden. It shouldn't be on their burden to have to figure out who do I, address my qualms with. And I also think there is some legitimacy, of course, to any criticisms about public defenders, right? Like, not every public defender is a saint, and it goes both ways. But I get it in the sense that they have to, who else? We're the ones coming to them with the offer. And a lot of times people tend to think, especially because of how the criminal system is portrayed in the media and on TV and stuff, people think that you're not trying hard enough, or there is this magical way. You watch TV and fake lawyers get up in court and just start a speech and it doesn't work but your clients do feel like you can do that. Like, say this word, say this plea for me. And it's like, I'm telling you, you're up between a rock and a hard place. So yeah, I mean, there's that. I will never say, most cases don't go to trial. That's just the reality about the criminal system. 9 out of 10 things are going to plea out in some way, whether or not it's a plea to a criminal conviction, or a violation or disorderly, something lesser. But most things do, in fact, end in pleas. That's the truth. But that's just the reality of how the legislators and the prosecutors and the judges have set it up.
I saw a video of you talking about the types of crimes that get brought to court for largely Black and brown people that are not, like a family member calling on another family member, and what kinds of mistakes are made there, or how much harder it is there?
It's honestly, most of the cases that I open up, I see are just regular disputes. Like, someone got mad at their roommate. It'll be something like 2 roommates got into an argument. Someone was, cursing each other out. So someone calls the police, and now they automatically arrest the roommate. Now there's an order of protection. That roommate can't live there, or a mother is upset with her son because the son's not doing homework, or he's skipping school or something like that. So she decides, I'm going to call the police, have the police come talk to him or scare him. The police instead arrest her child, issue an order of protection that she does not want. Now her child is homeless, or someone very common. People call the police because someone's having a mental health episode, or, and they don't know how to respond to it. They want to get them to the hospital. They want arrest them. Even when they take them to the hospital, tell them, oh, I'm just taking you to the hospital. The minute they get released from the hospital, they're at the doors to shackle them, so it's just everyday silliness. More times than not, I open a case and I'm like, you can't be serious. What are we having a serious conversation? Sometimes I even have to make it a point to make noise to the judge. Judge, let's be serious. Open this, read it, read the actual allegations and tell me we don't have better things we can do with our time. So yeah, those are the cases.
Is the judge ever responsive to that?
Yeah, sometimes the judges indicate to you how they feel. You get the impression that they think a case is stupid. When a judge's case is really stupid, they'll say, the minute it starts, they'll go, people, can we resolve this? Can we resolve this now? They, they make it kind of known that they think you should, make an offer. The prosecution should get rid of it. I had a case once where my client it wasn't even a crime. It wasn't even charged as a crime, violation littering. He threw a Capri, they accused him of throwing a Capri Sun on the ground, and they beat the brakes off it. Yes, beat him, tased him, beat him so badly. He was there in a hospital gown, could not walk. And I'm to the judge, the judge turned with outrage with me, to the people, are you serious? And they still wouldn't, it's not even a criminal charge, but they still would not get rid of the case. They still were oh, we're not prepared to do anything. We don't care. Oh, we'll make a note for the sign. When I make my big record, my client is literally, he's been tased, he's been beaten. Look at him. You know what I mean? The judge is saying this. They're we'll make a note for the assigned prosecutor. That's it. Oftentimes in court, it feels like I'm the only sane person in the room. I'm I wish it was an audience. Are people seeing it's just not, it's illogical.
And what is fueling all of this? Is it just racism? classism? Like,
I think racism, classism combined with power, maintenance of power, and just the reality that this is a business, right? Like, I think when you're talking about things as a structure and you know, as a system that's corrupt, you forget, you know, these are individual people with just like personal motivations, right? Like lawyers types, like, I'm trying to get a job. I'm trying to move up mobility, like not me, them. Like, I'm trying to move up mobility. You know what I mean? Like they like just the fact, whatever Joe Schmo, like, oh, I'm a prosecutor, I'm assigned this now. Oh, I'm a judge. Oh, I'm this. I'm trying to, you know what I mean? So everybody's trying to rub shoulders with everybody. Everybody's trying to get in where they fit in. So it's just this larger system, this boys club that's at work. So yeah, it's all of these different things that are already present in how the system runs. But a lot of it is just personal gain and people not being prepared to make integrity like decision. Because there are some people that, you know, work in these positions that work at the DAs or, you know, even court officers or something that actually would, if you ask them what they really felt or something, you know, they would be inclined to recognize like, this is not right or this is unjust. Or I have a friend from law school as a prosecutor and he called me blue in the face every day about something, you know, bad that he thinks they're doing. And it's like, yeah, okay, we'll quit. You know what I mean? Say something, you know what I mean? But they're not going to do that. And I'm not, you know, shooting anybody, you know, whatever, self-preservation is key, I suppose. But they're not gonna say anything. And, you know, I guess you have to make a decision whether or not you think there's any difference in that or what's worse. Like the people who are consciously on the side of the wrong that they're doing are the people that are like, I don't think it's so great, but it's my job. And they're still doing the same thing and working towards the same ends.
Yeah.
Do you feel like there is any way that we can restructure how flawed this system is? Like, is there hope here at all?
Restructure it? No. It's not, because it's not a structure. It's not a structuring problem. It's every aspect of it. Like, here's my thing. You know, before I decided I wanted to become a public defender, like how that moment came, I knew I wanted to be a lawyer. I was an undergrad and I was writing my thesis on race in the criminal system and whatnot. And, you know, I determined that it felt essential. It's necessary that I do this work. But that means from this perspective, I've been looking at this and all the different levels of this process and who's in the system and how it works since then. And what I've realized since going to law school and since going to court and, you know, meeting all these people, you know, I've interned at the DA's office. I'm a public defender. I did all of this. It's not an accident. You know what I mean? Like in all of the ways that you think like, oh, you know, people will talk about how coercion happens. You know what I mean? Like all these like factors that are compounded, but in actuality, right, it doesn't just like happen to fall onto people. Like there are prosecutors, people, judges, legislators making calculated decisions to make things, you know what I mean, to put people in a position where they have to take a plea or where they're stuck in jail or where they're doing all these different things. It isn't like, you know, if we tweaked right here, we could get the system quite right. No, it's people actively very involved. It's a very organized, structured, messed up system. And these people, you know, are enforcing it. So no, you can't. If you restructure it, you just shuffle it around. So no, I think honestly the system, I think there's always going to be progress that's made, right? In the form of reform or concessions. Like I definitely think you can move further this way. But I think if you're looking, if you want to be honest about what is actually going to like completely change the system, it's literally a new system. You have to get rid of the problem. That's what it is. But as far as a medium goes, I think it will progress. Maybe these little initiatives, you know, might make it a little better and you'll keep working and you'll keep adding more on it. But just in and of itself, it needs way more than just a few tune-ups, just a few different laws. The whole thing, how criminality is constructed in this country, you know, even our understanding of who is a criminal, what is a crime, where police need to be, how essential police are. It goes so much deeper than just looking at the court, right?
Yeah, can we talk a little bit about that, about our view of what crime is?
I actually was talking about this. I was just watching Sexy Beast before we came on this, right? My friend was over and we were watching Sexy Beast. And two white people are on the date and they're like, you know, doing their cute little date banter. And the guy asked her, oh, what's the wildest place you've ever had sex or something? She's like, well, I've had sex in public a lot. And he's like, oh, me too. And I'm like, isn't this cute how like when you watch white things, it's like, oh, quirky, white, like the way like things that would automatically have a criminal connotation in anybody else's movie, story, media presentation. When you watch white things, it's just like quirky. It doesn't have the same. I'm like, see, that's a cute little quirky date story for y'all, but that's sex offender registry for Black and people of color, right? And when I watch How I Met Your Mother, the first episode, when Ted Mosby decides he's going to steal the blue horn for Robin, I'm like, in Manhattan, So I know for a fact what charges. I'm like, if you were a Black person, charges, charges, a full order of protection. You can never go back to that restaurant. As a matter of fact, you can't even be on the streets of that restaurant. Yeah, like, so it's things like that. I think about that very, very often. I was watching Back to the Future on the plane, and I'm like, reckless driving, la la la. Like I'm just looking at all the charges. And the thing about it is, it seems like, you're being like, oh, jokes. But if you watch you watch Black media, you watch people of color shows, movies, anything, whatever, the police are very much so. There's even in our fictional things, even in the like most lighthearted thing, they're a part of it because you could never do these same kind of playful activities. Even our media, they're so entrenched in criminalizing us in real life. We can't even portray it in a fictional universe in the media without it being responded to with police. But white shows, it's just like, even in the episode of Sex and the City where Carrie decides she's going to smoke weed because Berger dumped her on a Post-it note. So she was like, oh, she can have a fun night. And the police like put her in the car, like arrest her or whatever. And the next thing you know, they're at the diner drinking Frosties, laughing about, oh, that was the night I got arrested. And I'm just like, that'd be a year of court. And that's what I'm thinking. Anybody, and that's what, to me, it's like that. Like how Black people and people of color and crime is literally discussed and how it's painted as crime as opposed to just regular living, fun stories and experiences or whatever in the media is very, very central to how it's viewed. It's the way that like when people talk about violence and violent crimes and they talk about Black neighborhoods and Black people fighting and da-da-da, every white guy I know has been in a bar fight, a brawl, something, they getting all kind of scraps in it, but it's like, it's just a part of boyishness, manhood, da-da-da, and it has an entirely different spin that it's given when we're dealing with non-Black and people of color. So that in and of itself portrays so much that once you get into court, how people view Black people, oh, you're accused of this crime, oh, it was assault. No one cares about the details, anything. It's how these things are labeled, right? It's a playful fight when some white kids are fighting and it's an assault and you know what I mean? And a threat and an intimidation and menacing and all this different stuff when it's other people. So that's what I mean. Like that, how we view different people, different groups, and what we think of as crime in and of itself informs how our criminal system shakes down, how juries think, how juries convict.
And so much of it is at the police's discretion, right? In terms of what they arrest and what they enforce. And
yes,
like I think you've said elsewhere, like, that they just put more police in Black and brown communities.
Exactly. They just line those communities. And this is the thing. If you put a magnifying glass to absolutely anybody, they're doing something illegal, right? America is a place that is overly, everything has been regulated. There is a law for everything that you could think of. There is a criminal regulation. It is the most overly policed and on paper place that I could think of. Like I was raised in the Bahamas. It's not like this. I got to America and I'm like, well, what is happening? You do not need to, but it is like that. And so the reality is, there's a law. Everybody could be held criminally responsible for something, but they only choose certain people and communities to deal with it in that way and to respond to it in that way. And so that's what you end up getting left with is just unfair application. And I don't want, and I want to always be clear about this, I don't want the system to level up in the sense that I don't want white people to be as mistreated by the criminal law as everybody else. You know what I mean? That's not what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for a punitive criminal system that's, handing all of us ourselves. But I want the same recognition that you have that things don't need to be criminal or you don't need to respond to that or that's not helpful or the same concern you have for those families in that community. Have that for ours, Like my friend told me, based back to the sexy beast discussion, he's like, he went out with a white girl once and she told him how, she got pulled over for a DUI and the police just escorted her home. And he was like, must be nice. And I'm like, and the thing is, and hear me out, that is what should happen. Logically speaking, like if you think somebody is drunk driving, somebody's driving when they shouldn't be, that's a danger to them or to other people. If your job as a police officer is to protect and serve the community, that's what you should do. You should make sure this person gets home safely. And you should do that for everybody. You shouldn't. Right. Why does this person get escorted home and the rest of them going to get violently beat and arrested and possibly killed and be stuck in court for who knows how long, probably with a criminal conviction that's going to affect the rest of your life and all kind of fines you can't pay. That's what's unfair. So it's not that they're, that they have this leniency towards white people. It's that you recognize all of these same fundamental, the same way you thought this was better to help her than to punish her. Why is it not better to help us than to punish us?
Right. And what role do you think that private prisons play in all of this?
I think private prisons are obviously bad. Like the obvious, everybody knows that, but public prisons are not no peach on a beach either. And there's privatization happening in like even within public prisons, right? They're still being used. Inmates are still being used for prison labor. You know what I mean? It's still being done there. It's still being done for a profit. All these things are still happening there. So while private prisons are heinous, they are not especially heinous by comparison to public prisons the way that it's been made. And I think a lot of that is because, you know, when you're able to focus on one, people like to feel like, oh, if I fix this one thing, I can still otherwise keep the system intact. Like it's not like prison isn't the problem itself. You know what I mean? And the fact that we have this criminal system and this mass incarceration, it's just this accident, this private prisons thing that somehow was born out of it. That was a mistake. That's causing bad stuff. And then people can focus their energies there while still being fully invested in maintaining the system that's otherwise perpetuating the harm. So private prisons are bad, but public prisons are bad too, because all of the prisons are bad.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on that? Like, are you pro abolishing prisons? Like, what do you think is the right solution?
I'm an abolitionist, but I want to make sure I say this. This is a lot of like, you know, catchiness of like being like abolish now and all of this. I don't use that for a very specific reason, because I think it takes away from what the argument is, right? Like, I recognize that abolition can't happen overnight. The whole concept is the idea that you start divesting from this mass incarceration, this criminal system that we've invested so heavily in, and start putting those funds elsewhere, into the community, into mental health resources, into solving and addressing the root causes of crime and helping those communities. And by doing that, you naturally don't end up with so much crime or so many problems, right? Because it's not untrue that people are doing things that they shouldn't be doing, right? Or that wrong things happen, or that, you know, mental illness and all these different things lead to horrible things. So we want to actually address that and, you know, decrease the prevalence of seeing things like that in society, right? So the concept of like, if I say abolish now, obviously that would never happen, but even theoretically, how people who don't understand what abolition is respond to it, you know, is going to be with rightful alarm, I guess, to some degree, because that doesn't consciously make sense. What I'm trying to do is, you know, over they start unplugging from it so that eventually we live in a society that doesn't have to have this. You know what I mean? We don't have to have a system that relies on prison. So yeah, ultimately I'm pro abolition. I don't think that incarceration doesn't do anything for anybody. It's just punitive. That's all it is. Like, it doesn't accomplish anything in the sense that it doesn't erase the harm that's happened. It does not prevent future harm. In fact, it pretty much guarantees that you're gonna have future harm. No one goes into the criminal system, goes into prison. You know, they're exposed to all kind of violence and worse circumstances. And people know that. It's not like they don't know that. You know, prison is not a good place. You know, people are in constant danger. So I don't know what you think that would breed. If the conditions that they've lived in already in their community, in their society, has led them to this point, by worsening all of their life conditions, I don't know how you think they're going to respond to stress, confrontation, conflict, and problems, right? It's only going to be worse. So to me, if I'm really trying to better the society around me and better the community, I have to want to better the people that you think are so bad. Or, you know what I mean? The people that are in the criminal system. If they are the quote unquote problem, that is what is harming the rest of us. Well, you need to help those people to help yourself, you know? So I think maybe people need to change the way they see it, because they tend to look at it as just like forgiving, not getting to have what they believe is like rightful anger and hatred and disdain and wanting to punish people. And it's not really about that. You need to look at it as, you know, self-preservation for you and the community around you. So yeah, that's where I'm at with it.
And so what would be the right step if like someone does commit a crime, and like how does reform happen? If
someone commits a crime, I think, well, here's the thing. A lot of, when you say crime, like what kind of crime? Because most crime is not what we think of as like, most crime is not violent crime at all. It's not rapes and murders and all these things. It's not that at all. Most crime is like, you curse somebody out, you threaten like, oh, I'm gonna beat your ass. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's just regular like activity. So, you know, people will ask me, how do I feel if my clients are guilty? And I'm like, if you mean guilty, like whether or not they did the thing someone said that they did, yeah, lots of time that's the case. And I don't think that thing should be being criminally prosecuted. It doesn't need to be there. Sometimes I think people forget, and in other countries, like life just moves on, you know, like in real life, like, no, it just does. Like in the Bahamas or something, if you know, my friend gets beat up, then he got beat up. That's a thing that happened. You know what I mean? Like life moves on. That is a story we know. You got cursed out. That wasn't fair. That wasn't right. You know, life, not everything requires like, let me bring down the hammer. I have been wronged. I must get retribution. It's just not that. So I'm like, yeah. If somebody did something, then they did something wrong. Address them in real life. Go talk to them. Like there are other ways. And I think that in of itself makes us forget like what community is supposed to be. But community is supposed to be people that like take you to task, you know, within that, so that you don't have to rely on a criminal system and all that. Address people. You know, when people in your life do terrible things or they do things you don't approve of or whatever, address them. Tell them that. Open your mouth. Stop looking for a criminal system to want to take everything from them and radically change the rest of their life. For what? That's what I think about. It's like, we're in court for a year fighting about somebody slapped somebody a year ago. This person has moved. Days are gone. You've continued living your life. Everybody's living. Why are we in court? Possibly, you know, change. Like, why are we in court? It just doesn't make sense. So, yeah, I think, you know, if they commit a crime, like they have committed a crime. Like, depending on what it is, some things like, listen, I understand. Like, everybody's free to. There are some things that are outrageous. You know, there's the rare anomaly serial killer of these things, but these are not indicative of what you're seeing in the criminal system. That's just not what it is. I got 100 cases underneath this laptop, and they're all goofy. Just regular human interaction. So I just think you can let things rock. I think things like this you just move on. People have committed crime against me before. Just moved on. Like life just kept going. Like we addressed that in other ways. I know I don't like this person. I told them how I feel about that. Like, you know, other ways. It doesn't got to be court. Not everything has to be court, America. Like.
And so much is probably drug charges too, right? So like, what would it look like to decriminalize drugs? How would that completely change the court system?
And the thing is, they like to jail people so much. They're so in the business of jailing people that even when something is like decriminalized and they know like they're not going to be able to continue on with the prosecution of it, they still arrest them. They still bring the charges. People have been saying, even though weed was just officially, you know, this year, people have been saying weed is decriminalized and painting New York as this progressive utopia since when? Since I got it, I've been like, my first case was a marijuana case. So like they arrest people for it. It's who they arrest for it. It's how they respond to it. That's different, you know? Yeah. They're not arresting the white guys in Williamsburg and Manhattan. That's true. They can smoke their weed on the street. Not everybody else. So yeah, they need to decriminalize drugs, but they also, rather than just decriminalize drugs, some things just need to be legal because decriminalization just gives them option. It gives what's the word? Discretion. You get to make a choice. Police and prosecutors just get to exercise their own personal judgment. And where do you think those personal judgments lead them? Right. So that's always I'm always cautious that I'm aware of that. Like even my friend is staying with me, and when he came in, he's like, "Oh, we can smoke weed in New York." I was like, I was like, don't go to this. I was like, do not go in the street smoke. He's like, "Oh, I saw this guy in Manhattan in Times Square smoking weed." I was like, "You saw him smoking weed. You don't do not do it because I'm gonna be mad if I have to come out my bed. It's gonna get you out of jail." Like, so it's different. Yeah.
And can we talk a little bit about the actual root of quote unquote crime and how that is like so misunderstood and seen as like a moral failing versus like a result of the society we live in?
Yeah. The root of crime is poverty. And the problem is people think poverty is like some kind of self-imposed choice. You know, like people are just up and choosing to live stressful, worse lives. I think everybody has an innate understanding of this and they just kid themselves. Everybody knows poverty and stressful conditions is what leads to crime because the minute the economy's bad, the minute there was a lockdown, you know what I mean? Everyone was concerned for their safety. As soon as it feels like money is tight, you know what I mean? People immediately respond. The minute the lockdown happened, all the guns were bought from the stores. You know why? Because people started preparing for a purge and all kind of balance to happen because in their mind, they're like, people are going to be broke, people are going to be stressed, people are going to be home. And when people are broke and when people are stressed and when people can't pay their bills and when people have all kind of conditions decrease in the quality of their living, that is when things get frosty. You know what I mean? Like you're a lot more likely to knock somebody out if you can't pay your rent. You know, if you're having a bad day, if things are already going bad, there's all these other things happening to you, you're going to respond to things not as your best self because you're not your best self, you know? So that's what it is. And what these neighborhoods that they call, you know, impoverished neighborhoods and impoverished communities and marginalized, they didn't get that way accidentally. It's where funding is being put. It's where, and it's happened. I don't think I have the time to walk anybody through the whole history from slavery to now and all of the different other social and legal injustices that have happened in this country. But poverty is not by happenstance. It's not an accident. There's a reason why certain communities have, and it's because they took and they maintained at the expense of others. So that living in impoverished conditions leads to crime. And I think that to me is evident just in the way American media and celebritydom is done. Right? Oftentimes, a American celebrity that they love so much is because they have an underdog story is how they paint it. You know, like They reference, oh, where they grew up and they were poor and all these other unsavory things that, used to happen in their life when they were poor and growing up and coming up. And now it's like this big story. And it's like, but the country that you live in is jails these people, jails them. Like that says that they are on a regular basis unredeemable. They need to go to jail. They need to be locked away. But those exact same people, when they happen to avoid that and make it, and now they're rich and there's this love cherished person you all have around. You have them on your walls. You're inviting them to hang out with Robert Kraft. You're doing all this different stuff. Like they don't have a criminal record because you're not scared because you recognize what was scary about them or what things you thought were so scary, what wrong things they were doing was circumstance based. The moment that you realize that is no longer their circumstances, you don't fear them. You're not worried about them. They're going to be locked away. So to me, Americans, I think if you do one more analysis to it and you look at how you really perceive celebrities and people and just look around, it's very clear. And I feel like the answer is there. That it's poverty and circumstance. It's not that people are irredeemable monsters. I've represented 1,000 people accused of crimes. I don't know any freak show monsters, no person that didn't make sense. I've never heard, I've never read a complaint and not heard the other side or a story or something that's like, yeah, it seems about like life. I've heard a story like this, these aren't these aberration, magical, mythical, terrible people. They're just regular people. They're just regular people with some circumstances who are poor, who are struggling, who are facing and battling other things. And that's just what it is.
How do you get up every day and work in a system that is so rigged?
Because I believe it's necessary. The only reason I do what I do is because it's important. I've always wanted to be a lawyer. That was always the case. But the older I get, the more I realize that I don't dream of a life of labor. I'm like, wow, wouldn't it be nice if I could lay in my bed and not do any of this stressful stuff? Right? So to me, the only thing that is going to be so much more important than my peace, chilling and all of this is honestly the fight for Black people. That's really what it is. Black people and marginalized people and fight against a criminal system that I know is wrong because I know that that's happening. That's something I'm consciously thinking about every day. The fact that I'm, a Black person who can walk around and talk and free. And I know there's so many people that look like me that are really stuck in a prison cell and there's, seemingly nothing that could be done about it. And there's more that they're trying to put there. That's a problem for me. I think sometimes I was having this conversation with some of my friends. We forget, it's easy to think, racism and all these terrible systems of injustice are far away or something because it's not happening to you. And you live in a time where things seem so modern. You're on the computer, you're talking to all these people. If you look out, it seems like we're all mingling together. Beyonce is Beyonce. There's so many popular, successful people, Black people. You can forget that, oh, no. This is the exact same America where this is still happening, where the average Black man between 18 to 29 years old is still likely to be incarcerated at some point in his life, where, all of my Black male friends can relate to having been arrested at some point in time or been profiled by a police officer. Me, myself, have been pulled over in a car 14 times in New York City, and I know that, and I can't unknow that. So for me, it just is a matter of it's not good enough for me. I wouldn't be able to live with myself because it's the same reason why I decided I needed to be a public defender as opposed to doing something like divorce law, which I had thought I wanted to do at the beginning of colleges. I don't think it's sufficient in a system where Black people are disproportionately profiled, arrested, and incarcerated for me as a Black person to just become a lawyer and go do something that doesn't actively benefit Black people. You know what I mean? We're less than 5% of the legal profession, despite being so overrepresented in the criminal system. That's the issue. And I don't think the only Black person in the courtroom should be the defendant. I think people deserve to be and are at an advantage by having an attorney that looks like them, that sees them, is going to humanize them and understand them and really care about what the impact is going to be on their family and on the community and try to take that psychological component into consideration. So that's why.
Well, that was a wonderful answer.
Thank you.
This has been so helpful and illuminating. And now I just have to ask if you want to play a silly game show.
Yes, I'll play it.
So this game show is called Hypotheticals. I'm going to give you a series of hypothetical situations. You can ask any clarifying questions that you have, and then you would tell me what you would do in that situation.
Okay, I'm excited.
Okay. So our first game is America's favorite game show. Would you stay with this cheater?
I'm excited.
You've been married for 30 years. You find out that 10 years ago, your partner drunkenly made out with your neighbor at a block party. This neighbor has been trying unsuccessfully to steal them away from you ever since with elaborate schemes and love letters. Would you stay with this cheater?
Yeah, I'm going to stay with first of all, a kiss, we've been together 30 years ago, and this happened a decade ago, and I've been chilling happily and loving my house. I'm not leaving my husband over no kiss, but I'm gonna beat that woman's ass. That's gonna happen. You can't. What? Not because she kissed my husband, like that's not, whatever. You didn't make the obligation. No, that's different. But you actively try to steal my husband oh no. What? And you've been actively scheming to get him to a decade. That's a decade of trying to stress me out to get my husband. I'm whooping your ass daily. Like, yes, that's what's happening.
Are you upset that your husband didn't tell you about the scheme for 10 years? Like you just found out about it?
I just found out, and because he told me.
Yeah, like you find a love letter and then you discover that she's been after
She's writing letters to my husband.
Mm-hmm. He's been keeping it from you.
And he was responding. He didn't tell us.
He wasn't responding. Other than the kiss, he wasn't interested. But he's been keeping it from you for 10 years that she's been after him. Did he tell
this woman that his wife is crazy? Like what? Oh well, yeah. No, we can have a problem. First of all, on one hand, I'm trying to think of what my ex-boyfriends would think about me. And I could see a man that's with me thinking, you know what? She can carry on bad. I'm just not going to respond to the woman. So there's no need for me to tell her because it's going to be a thing. I could see that. And I could think that's reasonable and plausible. But not you getting no letters from no woman and you keeping them. We're going to have a problem. But I'm not going to divorce him. But we're going to exchange words.
That's a very good answer. I'll accept it.
Good.
Okay, so our next game is this a date? You mentioned you need to go to the DMV to get a real ID, and your coworker says that they need to do that too. They suggest making appointments on the same day so that you can keep each other company. But on the day of the appointment, your coworker shows up at the DMV with a picnic basket. Is this a date?
First of all, hell no. No, and a picnic basket at the DMV? Sir.
Do you think they think it's a date?
I think they need to go talk to somebody professionally if they think so. I think they might if they brought a picnic or, first of all, where are you going to, let me just, this is what I want to know. Where are you going to spread the picnic basket at the DMV? Like on the seats on the side? That's gross. I think he thinks it's a date. And I think he's goofy.
Yeah. So so it's a date, but no thank you.
No, it's not a date. He thinks it's a date.
He got it.
It is not a date. I wanted to go get my license. And this man wanted to do it at the same time. Okay. And he brought food with his presumptuous self. And I'm going to eat because you brought the food. But we are not on a date. All right. You are a man I work with who came to the DMV same time as me.
I like that you're still going to eat the food. I support that.
Absolutely. And I've been waiting at the DMV all day. Of course I'm going to eat.
Okay. Our last game is Are You a Terrible Parent? Your 14-year-old won't stop texting. In order to make them averse to texting all the time, whenever they do it, you murmur just loud enough for them to hear. Click, clack, clickety, clack.
Oh, that's
click,
oppression.
Clack,
No, that's
until
terrible.
it's so annoying they throw their phone at you. Are you a terrible parent?
Yes, I'm oppressive. Yes. My best friend Dave, every time I'm eating, he does this. So like every single time. And I hate it with all my heart. That is the worst. Why are you oppressing the baby? Why they can't text? What's the problem? Like, let them get food. No. First of all, yeah, definitely terrible. Now your child got all kind of trauma. Now this child is going to be 27 trying to figure out why they respond to text in the way that they do. They get anxious. Like, oh, I don't like the text. They're going to be getting cursed out by some significant other about why they never respond to their text. And be like, I've been through some things. Like, so, yes, bad parent.
I have to say, I appreciate your decisiveness throughout this game of hypotheticals.
Thank you.
Other guests have sort of, not known, asked more questions. You knew immediately, and I really respect it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us. Where can people follow you and find out more about everything that you're up to and writing about?
Everywhere on social media is Miss Olurin, MSOLURIN. Follow me.
And there's lots of good cat content as well.
He is literally next to me being a talker.
Thank you so much.
Making content is an essential part of what we do to keep this show going, but it hasn't always been a seamless creative process. We make a lot of videos, social posts. I mean, I design a lot of, the things that we share on Instagram in order to get you guys to listen to these episodes. And my personal design skill level is, I would say, medium. But ever since I found Canva Pro, I can design anything like a pro on any device.
Canva Pro is a design platform that empowers you to create and share stunning content in just a few clicks.
Whether you're a design professional or just getting started, designing with Canva Pro is amazingly fast and fun. Choose from thousands of professionally made templates that are easy to customize with simple drag and drop features or start from scratch.
Canva Pro comes with endless premium fonts, photos, videos, and so much more that add personality and edge to whatever you're designing.
I love the little cartoon imagery that you can add to things, and I've used all of their little arts. Like, you could search for anything, and they have an adorable art image for you to put on it.
Sharing, creating, and organizing designs as a group has never been easier. Canva Pro helps you stay on top of team projects all in one place. No more misplaced files or tedious back and forth.
With Canva Pro's Content Planner, you'll save time planning, creating, and posting social media content too. Pause scheduled posts and edit them at any time. My favorite Canva Pro feature is Animate. I love when you get to animate the post because it just makes it more dynamic.
Design like a pro with Canva Pro. Right now you can get a free 45-day extended trial when you use our promo code. Just go to canva.me/justbetweenus to get your free 45-day extended trial. That's canva.me/justbetweenus. Canva.me/justbetweenus. With HelloFresh, you get fresh, pre-measured ingredients and mouth-watering seasonal recipes delivered right to your door. Skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. That's why it's America's #1 meal kit. Fall is busy, but HelloFresh recipes save time that you'd otherwise spend meal planning, shopping, and chopping, so you can get back to what matters. HelloFresh's family-friendly menu is a big win for back-to-school season, with easy, delicious recipes for drama-free dinners. As many of you know, the Raskin family is a huge fan of HelloFresh. My father did not cook for decades until retiring and picking up HelloFresh, and now he is like a professional. It has really saved their marriage. So go to hellofresh.com/betweenus14 and use code betweenus14 for up to 14 free meals, including free shipping. HelloFresh.com/betweenus14 and use code betweenus14 for up to 14 free meals, including free shipping. HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit. Welcome back to Just Between Us. It's time for topics.
XXXXXXX, baby.
Baby.
Okay, so Bennifer's just a way in, but we did want to say, why do we care about celebrity relationships? First of all, I fell down a rabbit hole.
Of who?
Conspiracy.
Ooh.
Regarding Jennifer Lopez.
Tell me everything.
Well, first of all, I knew that Ashanti sang most of her songs.
Wait, what?
Ashanti, okay, so if you'll recall Ashanti, an incredible R&B singer who had hits like Foolish and Rock With Me. You don't like Ashanti, Melissa? Melissa's shaking her head at Ashanti. First of all, how dare you? Okay, so Ashanti, basically, like, she is singing most of J-Lo's songs. There's also a musician, there's also a singer named Natasha Ramos, who is a behind-the-scenes sound-alike of J-Lo, who does most of J-Lo's music. There's also, like, I went down a rabbit hole. Also, okay, there were tons. So basically, J-Lo exists because Tommy Mottola was mad at Mariah Carey. So here we go. Tommy Mottola and Mariah Carey were married. They got divorced. Mariah Carey was like a huge superstar. Tommy Mottola was like, okay, I need to find someone new to fuck with Mariah Carey and be like good, as good as Mariah Carey and compete with her. He finds J-Lo. He's like, she's an amazing dancer. He's like, great. We're going to make J-Lo a superstar. So Mariah Carey started doing songs with Ja Rule, and then Tommy Mottola would be like, okay, well now J-Lo has to do a song with Ja Rule. But like, J-Lo can't sing. So they had all these people competing, and they would like steal songs and lyrics, and they would steal samples from Mariah Carey and all this stuff. And J-Lo is an incredibly talented performer. That's the thing. She has the charisma. She's an incredible dancer. She's has like a really good performer, but like most of her music is sung by other people. Justice for Ashanti. Anyway, there's tons of videos about it. The point is, I like J-Lo. I don't have any problem with her. She is not truly singing. Also, she does say the N-word in I'm Real, which makes sense when you realize the person singing is Ashanti. Okay, anyway, so now she's back together with Ben Affleck. I enjoy that. One, because it makes me think like, you know, in 2002 when they were together, the only reason it didn't work out was because there was so much media attention on them and they were so young.
Is that true?
They said that they canceled their wedding because there was too much media frenzy and they broke up.
Oh, wow.
So I think that now they've both older, they both matured, you know, like, and maybe they were meant to be together all along.
Yeah, I mean, I just love celebrity relationships because they make me feel better about my own life. And they like, it humanizes them. I also like a big thing, like having been left by my fiance, a big thing is always like, oh, but like also all of the, it's like looking to celebrity proves that like that's never a reflection of the person that was left. Like the most incredible people are cheated on and left and
correct
divorced and like, you know, and so I think it's like this way of humanizing them and seeing like, oh, wait, so they can go through this and then go through that and then also be okay and then find love again.
Like how many times was Ariana Grande engaged before she like found her husband?
Once?
I think a couple times.
Oh, really?
And like, I mean, I don't know. I love Ariana Grande's music. I don't know that much about her. I feel like it does show you like that life is long and complicated, right? So because they're celebrities, we've known them for so long, quote unquote. So like we've seen J-Lo like through into her 50s. And like, so we've seen like the public persona of like who she's been with. And everyone was like, she's going to get married to A-Rod. Like, and then boom, out of nowhere, Bennifer's back.
Yeah. It gives you a
perspective.
It gives you perspective. It also reminds you that there's always another person. Like,
right.
It's very rare that like it's not like A-Rod and her relationship exploded and then she's just now going to be single until she dies. Like, it's always like, oh, who's around the corner? Ben Affleck's around the corner. Exciting. Or like,
she even talked shit on his tattoo. Remember when he got that big phoenix tattoo on his back? And there's like interviews of her being like, it's not good. And now they're back together. So,
and just that like these people that even are in these like the Jason Sudeikis, Olivia Wilde of it all has been a really interesting thing where like, so he's, you know, he's got this hit show that's like unbelievable. I think one of the best things he's ever done. But then his like fiance leaves him for a much younger man.
I don't know why they split up, but I'm like, her and Harry Styles is so surprising.
Oh, it's shocking. But it's just this reminder of like these shocking things happen to these celebrities. Like nobody's safe.
So you feel like, okay, so like if I'm watching anything could happen to these people, then anything could happen to me.
Well, I already feel like anything could happen to me. Right. And then it's like a reminder of like, I'm not special. Anything could happen to anybody.
Yes, that's how I feel. But I also do that with people in real life, which I think you do too, where you're like always fascinated when someone is like with someone and then they get divorced and then they get back together and then they like fight. You're always like very interested in who's getting divorced. I will say that.
Oh, yeah. But it's also this thing of like, I think it's like a really fun way to play with fantasy, right? Because like, what the fuck do J-Lo and Ben Affleck talk about?
I don't know. I think I knew that they were like friends the whole time. Like, I think they remained friends.
But just trying to figure out, like, what is that relationship? Like, what draws them together? Like, what is it like? Like, how often are they just, like, on the couch watching TV? Like,
why are they compatible?
Yeah, like, why are these certain people compatible? What does it look like when they go to somebody else and then they write songs about that? Like, it's also messy and fun, and I love it.
Yeah. I saw a fun TikTok that was like, Taylor Swift knows exactly how to fuck with her specific exes based on their astrological signs. And so it'll be like, Calvin Harris is a Leo. He needs to be the center of attention. He needs to take credit for everything. And so what did she do? She came out and said that she wrote one of his biggest hits. Or that it's like, John Mayer is like a something rising, and so he needs everyone to love him. And so that's the one song that she's put out where she's been like, no, we're not going to make you guess at who this is about. This has his first name in it. Like, and I was like, that is so funny. And also just so like, you're like, yeah, like that, like you, I don't know. It feels like you're a part of a game, even though I know it's their real lives.
I think we like tend to like superhero celebrities, and then their relationships are the things that like remind us that they're just regular people in a lot of ways. Melissa, you want to come on in and share your thoughts and potential conspiracy theories? What do we rate this episode?
Okay, can I say something?
Okay. No, you can't. You can't say a thing on your own podcast, and I won't allow it.
It's okay, Gabby. You can say something.
Well, it's a tie. Earlier in this podcast, I tough loved Allison. And I just want to say that I stand by that Allison is a creative force, and that I don't like hearing her talk about herself in a way, because I find it frustrating, because I think she does have a lot of ideas. But I don't want you to feel unheard, because you kept saying you didn't feel heard. And so I want you to know that I do hear you, and I respectfully disagree.
Okay.
This is a conversation we've gone in circles around a ton of times because we have different approaches to art. But I just want to say that for the record, I believe Allison is an ideas powerhouse, and you will not convince me otherwise. And so I'd like to rate this 11 out of 10. We are very different people with different points of view, and isn't that why you're here listening to this show?
Thank you. Look, I think the fact that I feel like I am currently out of ideas right now, I don't take to mean that I will be out of ideas forever, or that it means I don't have any ideas, or that I'm a boring person. I think maybe you extrapolated some of that from what I was saying.
And then I got angry. I like invented what you were saying, and then I got angry at how dare someone say that to you, but nobody was saying that.
But nobody was really saying it.
I'm fighting myself to defend you from...
Yeah, I was just saying in this current moment, I'm having trouble coming up with TikTok and Twitter content.
I got upset.
That to me doesn't mean that I am a garbage person. I didn't take those steps that I think you thought maybe I was taking.
I got mad. I was like, how dare you talk bad about yourself to you? It's okay.
But to me, it's also right. It's you saying that that's me talking badly about myself, but that's implying that that me not currently feeling like I have ideas is bad. Whereas like I'm trying to look at it. It's frustrating, but I'm trying to look at it as like, maybe it's just that right now I don't have that many ideas, and that doesn't need to mean that much more than that, if that makes sense.
I'm a fix-it person. I get very heated.
It's okay. I will rate this 74 out of 72 second chance benefers.
Aww. Why do we love it? Why do we care?
Melissa?
I'll rate it 10 out of 10 on-air apologies and forgiveness.
All in one episode, I canceled and then uncanceled myself. Or just like, if you feel like you want to like talk about what might be going on for you internally, I'm here for you.
Got it.
Thank you to Olayami Olorin for being our guest.
Just Between Us is a Forever Dog production hosted by me, Allison Raskin.
And me, Gabby Dunn.
Produced by Melissa DeMonts.
Executive produced by Brett Boehm, Joe Cilio, and Alex Ramsey.
Brendan Burns composed our killer theme music.
To listen to this podcast ad-free, sign up for Forever Dog Plus at foreverdogpodcast.com/plus.
And check out video clips of our podcast on YouTube at youtube.com/foreverdogteam, or on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/justbetweenusshow.
And make sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Forever Dog Team to keep up with all the latest Forever Dog news. Also at Allison Raskin on Instagram, at Gabby Road on Instagram, and at She Is Not Melissa on Instagram. Okay, bye!
Forever Dog.